What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Austin, host of the One Last Hit podcast. Thanks for tuning in. And with me today, Mr. Shelby M, looking like he's about to take off on a runway over here. Dude, I love your headphones, bro. Good to have you.
Thanks, Austin. I appreciate you asking me to be on the show. And yeah, I just got these. These are actually the gamer headphones like my son likes to use. So
yeah, your sound is solid, dude.
Is it?
Yeah. Actually, do me a favor. Go down to your little here. I'm gonna pause. So Shelby is a very important guy in our recovery community here in Orlando. He's somebody that we all love the living shit out of. But Shelby has struggled the last couple of years, like I did, like a whole bunch of us have, right? I mean, I had over 22 years. I think I had 7 or 8. Relapses after some sobriety. Like every time I'd get a year or two, and then and so I think where I'd like to start, Shelby, if it's all right, is I'd love to hear from you what these last, I don't know if it's been 2 or 3 years or how many years it's been going on really, but the in and out that's been going on. Can you kind of, like, I know you had a period of sobriety before, right? Like a long one, like 9-10 years, right? Yeah. And when you relapsed after that, when was that relapse?
2023.
Okay, so we're talking 2.5, 3 years. And so what has that in and out looked like over the last couple of years for you, for your family, everything?
Well, Austin, it's been definitely a roller coaster. It's been very up and down. A lot of, I've done a lot of damage. I think 8 detoxes, 4 rehabs. I don't know how many white chips I picked up. I lost count, but yeah, it's been pretty rough. It's been, it's made me kind of have to go back to the drawing board a couple times, and so it's not fun.
Is there anything about that time that, like, any stories or painful moments about that time that really, like, kind of stand out to you as wow, these could have been catalysts, but maybe we're catalysts to relapsing again? I don't really know, but I'm just curious if you've got anything like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, kind of looking back over those times leading up to when I fell off, when I relapsed the first time. Mm-hmm. I had almost 10 years. My dad had died recently, I think a couple years before that. And I kind of started to drift away from, recovery, accountability, the guys that, would call me on my shit, being in places where people would, set eyes on me. And I kind of just focused on, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to make money. I'm going to take care of my family. I'm going to get the big house and the big car and the big truck and all that stuff. And, God, my relationship with God has always been a big part of my life since I was 19. So I tried to do me and God are doing this thing together, and we don't need nobody else for probably the last 2.5 years of that last sobriety. And I got really sick, I got really sick by doing that. And that's about how long it took of not going to meetings and just unplugging from that, fellowship and that network for me to get to a place where taking a drink. And with me, it started with kratom. Mm-hmm. Is how it started. Getting to a place where I put something in my body to make me feel better took about 2.5 to 3 years of unplugging from recovery. Yeah. So
yeah, I have a very, very similar story, man. When this is just pre-Mexico, right? I had 7 years of sobriety, had disconnected just enough, had become reliant on money just enough that picking up kratom worked. And that ended up culminating over the next 2.5 years of me moving to Mexico and ending up homeless and blowing through $1 million and the whole 9, dude. And so, for this alcoholic, and it sounds like for you too, man, that reminder of who and what we are is a big one, dude.
Oh yeah.
For me, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think looking back at it, starting to think that I'm, I don't have that problem anymore. And I mean, it was evident. If you ask anybody around me leading up to that relapse, my wife, my kids, people I work with, how's Shelby doing? Is he okay? They'd say, that guy needs to take a Quaalude or something. that guy needs to chill the fuck out, man. He's a spaz. He's get the ball, go. What's the next thing? And all the signs were there. My wife had been feeling very disconnected from me. I was avoiding at home. I wasn't really present. I'm always, working till 11 o'clock at night, doing emails, thinking I'm carrying the world on my shoulders. And I was, alone in it by choice. But that was my sickness, taking me to that place, getting me off, isolated to a place, kind of like how animals do when they, when they're getting ready to die, that's how my sickness likes to do with me. And yeah, so.
Man, it's like you just told my story, man. I don't know if your sponsor said this to you, but mine did early on. He said, that part in the book where it says the great obsession of every abnormal drinker is he'll someday control and enjoy his drinking.
Right.
And he likened this to, he said, life's really the same way. If I'm the one that has to be in control of it, man, there is just no way that I'm enjoying it. Yeah. And if I'm enjoying it, it's because I've given up control, and that really I never forgot that. Man. So, all right. So we're up to current day. Let's go back to young Shelby. If you had a sitcom, we'd call it Young Shelby. Where did you grow up, man?
Castleberry, Florida.
Castleberry. Wow, you've moved so far throughout your lifetime.
I grew up in Castleberry, Florida, right across the street from the place where we meet every Wednesday. In that neighborhood.
Wow.
And so we actually, it's a funny story, but we used to make fun of the guys that would meet at the 12-step programs. We were little prankster kids, and we'd go into the building and get surges out of the vending machine, and they'd chase us out of there. We'd hang out in the oak tree in the back, smoking cigarettes and stuff like that. But yeah, my childhood started there. There was a small house on the corner. My dad was a really hardworking guy. They had 5 kids, so I have 3 brothers and a sister. And both my mom and dad were very much about, work ethic, do a good job for people, build relationships. Like the work ethic and the kind of perfectionism, performative way of living, like you're only as good as your last day's work, was very much ingrained in me from a very young age. I was the oldest out of 5 kids, and my dad was struggled a lot with alcoholism and addiction, and it was very evident to us as young kids. I remember watching through the window him getting pulled out of his truck and beat up by the cops, drunk. Remember him throwing appliances around the room and breaking stuff, and my mom, just watching her kind of suffer in that and not, have a way to get out of it. It was kind of rough. Yeah.
Do you, before you ever picked up a drink or a drug, do you have any conscious memory of how you felt during that time? What were your overwhelming? Because I just remembered as a kid, I was high anxiety. I felt like I couldn't make friends. Just there was shit that I wanted to get out of.
Excuse me. Confused, scared, angry, trapped. Is this my life? Is this what? Is this what I have to look forward to? Because I looked up to my dad, and me and him were really tight towards the end before he died. But, he was my hero. Still to this day, I've not met a better man to swing a hammer, sell a job, shake hands with, my dad was my hero, and seeing him, when your hero falls, the only person you have to look up to, that crushes your whole reality as a kid. And I got to a point, before ever even really picking up, I think I was smoking weed by this point, but, before I got into drugs, I was very much approval seeking. How can I get a laugh? How can I do something, jump off a roof with a trash bag, try to parachute, try to get some attention or some approval, or, I can, showing everybody I can do everything better than everybody else. Like, want to be the fastest guy at track and and I got like really good grades, but it was all me trying to earn value, approval, validation, something, and it got to a point. I remember coming home from school one day, and my dad, I didn't know what methadone was, but my mom had flushed my dad's methadone down the toilet. He had busted all of her windows out of her car, and the cops were there, and he had ran off somewhere. So the cops leave, and he comes back, and he showed me a couple weeks before that he had a noose down in the shed, and so him and my mom got into it, and it's me, my brother, and my mom, and he goes walking down into the shed, and I could see it in his eyes that he was about to do it. So he said, "I'll be in the shed hanging," and he went, stepped up on a bucket, and he hung himself right in front of my mom, myself, and my little brother. I think I was about 11, and this is about 60 yards from the house. I didn't have any way to cut him down, so my mom and brother are trying to pick up on his legs. And so I ran up to the house and got a knife, came down, cut him down. He was just, swinging. And wow. He survived. He was unresponsive at first, but he came back, got Baker acted. And the first thing he said to me when he got back, he had like a red ring around his neck. His eyes were all bloodshot. He was like, "Why'd you do that? Why'd you cut me down?" And he didn't want to live, and I couldn't understand how somebody with 5 kids, seemingly successful business, we had jet skis. We would go on the trips. Like he would go on these trips doing cooling towers in Texas and Louisiana, and he'd come back, he'd make like $60,000 in 2 weeks, which was a lot of money back then. But
it's a lot of money now, bro. What are you talking about?
These days we blow our nose with that these days. You know what I mean? But yeah, so from that point on, I almost took on I've got to take care of my dad now. I've got to take care of him. You know what I mean? I got to keep him alive because he's obviously not stable. And
I have a question on that, just because that is such an insanely powerful story that you just told, and I'm kind of picturing you and your family and your siblings in my head, and I'm curious. I meant to ask you this earlier, but do you see alcoholism and addiction in your siblings as well, or were you? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Were there ways that I'm sorry to cut you off? Were there ways that you saw this situation like show back up for you later on in life?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I've seen my younger brother and my sister. They've been in and out of rehabs. They were like me, junkies, crackheads. But they've actually been California sober for about 13 years now. And then my 2 youngest brothers are like little skater punks. They're like skateboard, got the long hair and the tattoos, and they never got into the hard stuff. They'll smoke and drink, but that's about it.
Okay.
But suicidal tendencies, all that kind of stuff has popped up. And almost all of my siblings, for me, I've never actually directly had suicidal thoughts. It's always just been like, let me see if I survive this. It's more of like a recklessness.
Yeah.
With the work that I do, I've been a tree climber since I was 16, and taking chances that nobody else wants to take, or doing a shot of dope, like, oh, I'm going to put all this in here, and then, if I go, I go. But I've never wanted to, shoot myself or hang myself or anything. I always have like this kind of like false pride, like, oh, well, that's the easy way out, just seeing my dad go through it.
How old were you at that time when that was going on?
11.
You were 11. Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you start smoking weed?
11.
11.
Right,
Okay.
just before that. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
And so how did it progress from that point? Like, what did middle school look like for you?
Middle school, I reached a point where, when all this stuff was going on with my dad, and it was bad because he was successful, and then all of a sudden he wasn't, and the jet skis started disappearing, everything started disappearing, and he would, pretend like he was going to make a police report and act like somebody stole the stuff, but we knew he was pawning it, and he was always gone. I went from being a 4.0 to hanging out with the little gangster kids in middle school, smoking pot. And then we got into the Coracedons, the Triple C's, the Huff and Freon, eating Morning Glory seeds. I mean, you name it. We were on, all the websites that tell you how to get high off of stuff underneath your freaking kitchen sink. And before long, the next big shift, I think, was the first time, because my dad would sit in his truck. He wouldn't come inside. He'd sit in his truck all night outside. We had moved from the place over there across by Home Depot in Castleberry on a lake. So he'd sit down by the lake in his truck, and he would shoot cocaine and smoke crack. He would cook his own. And so we'd sit in there and smoke joints while he was doing that. He never let us do it. And one day I'm like, come on, man, And so he gave me my first hit of freebase when I was 12. I was 12 years old. I did my first hit of freebase, and I fell in love. I fell absolutely in love with it. I was, I found what I thought I was looking for, for a brief moment, ears ringing, face numb, everything just shut off. All this up here shut off, and I couldn't have been happier than I was in that moment. And no drug has ever made me feel better than that moment. And I've done a lot of crack since then.
Right.
That was the best hit of crack I ever did in my entire life, was when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
And, so all the time after that, fast forward, and we would take pills and do whatever we could get our hands on was what we were doing. We did the hallucinogens. Drinking was always a part of it. We loved to drink. I actually had periods where I would get off of crack and just try to drink to be more social, like to keep my girlfriend happy or be able to hang out around normal people and be human, because crack's not like a real social drug. You don't hear about people going to like a crack party to hang out and watch the game.
Right. It's in the closet. That's the crack party. Yeah.
But yeah, so that progressed, and as a juvenile, I must have got arrested, I don't know, 22 times.
Wow.
Stealing, went on the run, just boosting stuff and in and out of programs, JDC. And then when I was 17, I had been messing with the painkillers, a little bit. And I started 17, the first time I injected oxycodone. And I thought that was my ticket out of being a crackhead. And so I rode that thing as long as I could. And then I ended up just doing a bunch of both for a while.
Naturally. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah. And then I didn't even know about getting sick, until like one morning it's like, oh man, I don't feel so good,
Right.
And I was talking to my dad. I'm like, man, he's like, oh yeah, you're sick. He's like, if you don't have it, you're sick. You gotta have it all the time or else. Oh shit.
Well, that explains the methadone and why he was so mad at mom. Right. And what was mom doing during this time? Like, how was she coping with?
She was trying to keep up with 5 kids, and she was the one taking me to my court dates and picking me up from the JDC and taking me to the alternative school when I get kicked out of. I got kicked out of school, and then I got kicked out of the alternative school, and then I got kicked out of the school that you get kicked out of when you get kicked out of alternative school. And so eventually you're like at this 12-hour-a-day. Sheriff's deputies are your teachers now, 12 hours a day, and you're in a jumpsuit. And So, yeah, very troubled. The juvenile years were very, very troubled.
Yeah. So your childhood, even before hitting 18, is what, some addicts go through in their entire life.
Right.
Wow. And so, all right. So you're 17. Did you graduate high school? Did you end up graduating? Get a GED or something?
I did later when I was about 25. Yeah.
Okay. So what happens after high school?
So I dropped out at the very start of 10th grade. I'm working at the dog track. My dad's locked up for 2 years.
For what?
Stealing. Me and him and my brother had went on a run for about 6 months, and he had got charges, grand larceny, grand theft from Orange, Seminole, and Volusia County, and so he had to go do 2 years.
Okay.
All I had to do, we had warrants and stuff, so we had tried to do the Jesse James thing, and I ended up having to go to a program for 7 months.
Okay.
But yeah, he was dealing with that. I was working at the dog track and doing tree work at the time. Every day was drinking, Natty Ice, Steel Reserve, cheap whiskey and vodka, lots of drinking, lots of smoking pot around the social crew, so we had like the social crew, and then I'm in that, but I know what I really want. So I'd try to be a normal person, but every week or so, once every 2 or 3 weeks, I'd just kind of like vanish, and go do my little crackhead thing in the woods, and have to explain it to the girlfriend, and there was a lot of fights, a lot of drama that went on in that time. We had the same shed that my dad hung himself in. It was infamous in Castleberry. All the kids from Castleberry would come and party in this shed. It was called the shop. It even said it on the front. It said the shop. Cops would get called every night. There's always fights, rolling around in broken beer bottles, and just all kind of crazy stuff.
So your house was wild.
It was wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my mom would kind of just turn a blind eye to it because she's trying to salvage the other 3 kids that she's trying to raise and work 3 jobs and keep up with the mortgage and the this and that. And she kind of looked at it like, well, these two, me and the next brother down, these guys are too far gone. I can't control them. I can't, I don't want them to get locked up. I don't want them to go away, and then probably about, what was it? Probably about 6 or 8 months later, my dad gets out. And when he gets out, he's got all the connections, and he does good for a little bit, maybe a month or 2. And then one day, he's got that look. And you can always tell my dad because he would start trying to do some kind of weird like home repair thing around the house. Like, you have that like crackhead face, or
right.
Like,
right.
I'm just working on the blinds over here. So I'm looking at him I'm like, dude, I know you. What do you got?
Yeah.
And so the whole thing just started all over again. Been homeless, lived in hotels a lot through those years, a lot of hotels. When I was 19, I was living at my uncle's house on and off because my mom wouldn't have me, nobody, and so we're at the end of our rope. Like we had this big job at Disney World that we burnt to the ground. Everything we touch, we burn it down. We're ripping people off for tree work. We're getting deposits and never coming back. We're, getting loans from the uncle, getting loans from family. But at least we're not robbing people anymore. And we just get to a point. My dad's online looking at this place over in Ocoee, and he's like, hey, he's like, I'm going into this place over here. And it was a faith-based recovery place. And so I'm like, all right, what the hell? I'll go with you. So we went to this place, and I'm walking in, and I'm completely physically dependent on alcohol, opiates. I'm on the Suboxone. I got Suboxone because people run out of the other stuff. So you always got to have Suboxone on you just so you don't get sick.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go to this place and we're raging crackheads. And so walk into this place and these people start praying over us as soon as we come in the door. And they're praying, they're laying hands on us. And I'm like, this is weird. I was raised Catholic,
Yeah. You're not doing that.
Yeah. All that stuff. And so, but I don't remember having any physical withdrawals after that.
Wow.
These people prayed for us and we went into this place for 7 months we were there. And it was a faith-based place, and they taught you all about, scripture and how to pray and how to do this and spiritual warfare. And, there were some elements that, were a little cultish, but I didn't know nothing at the time. But that's where I believe my relationship with God really started, was there, because I could feel a presence of something good. And something benevolent, that I could feel some sort of value and love towards myself from somewhere else that had nothing to do with how much money I had, what I had to give, anything I had done. It was just towards me from, and I believed it was God. And so about 7 months later, I've got a job at this. Try to make it quick, but this is a kind of,
no, you don't need to make it quick.
Well, part of the story. All right, so I got this job after 90 days. For 90 days, you're sitting in a room studying for 8 hours a day, brainwashing,
yeah.
right?
I did Teen Challenge, man, so I get it. I did something similar.
So it was similar to that, and I mean, you're up at 6 o'clock in the morning, praise and worship, raising your hands. And so I get this job at the Harvest, which is a big food bank over in Sanford. Now, Sanford is my old stomping grounds, because I know Sanford like the back of my hand. And we used to say you can't swing a cat around without hitting a crack dealer in Sanford.
Yeah.
But so I'm working at the food bank, and I'm like humming these songs all day long, full of joy, full of the Spirit of God. And I'm just like, man, this is great. And they never gave me my check up until this point. But a couple days before, I got my ID, and the house manager who worked with me at the same job usually got my check. He didn't come that day. So they come and they give my check to me on a Friday, and all of a sudden something switches. And so I take my check, my ID, and I'm out the door. I leave my job in the middle of the day, and I'm walking through Sanford. I'm cutting down these neighborhoods, and I think they're going to start looking for me or something weird. And I end up in this at this little gas station, corner store, we would like to call it. And I walk in this corner store, and this old lady, she's looking at me. She says, "Hey, there's a bicycle outside. You're going to need it." And I said, "Okay, what?" And I go outside. There's a bicycle there. So I grab the bicycle. A couple weeks before, they were talking about, I know it's going to sound crazy. They're talking about how the devil likes to bless you too. So I walk into this corner store, and the lady's like, "There's a bicycle outside. You're going to need it." So I jump on this bicycle. I'm riding. I know where I'm going. I got to go to Amscott, cash this check, and then I'm going to my guy's house. As I'm riding on the bicycle, these two guys, they look like, something out of San Quentin prison documentary or something, pull up in a truck, and they're like, they got, face tattoos everywhere. They're like, "Hey, we're from Daytona. You know where we can get some dope around here?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I jump in with these guys, and we go to Amscott. I go to the guy's house. I go to the guy, and he's like, "Man, I haven't seen you in a while." I'm like, "Oh yeah, man." I'm like, "Man, I got a relationship with God now. I've been studying, the Word and all this stuff." And the guy's like, "Man, that's what my life's all about." He's like, "I'm in church every Wednesday and every Sunday." He's like,
"And I sell crack."
"What do you mean?" And so And so, you know, when you haven't seen your dope man in a long time, he gives you like 3 times as much as he usually gives you.
Right.
And so, anyways, I got these guys, these Daytona guys. I got to lose them now because they're freaking me out. So I'm at the hotel, and they're trying to come in the hotel room with me. I lock them out. They're banging on the door. But that night, and from that point, I never experienced getting high the same way. Ooh. Having a knowledge of God, having a knowledge of a better way of life, and getting high has never been the same ever since that point. You can get your conscience dulled out enough by enough getting high to where it's more flat, but like the enjoyment of it is not, for me, this is my experience, is never the same. Because I mean, I was always a paranoid, schizophrenic crackhead. Like, I'm seeing the shadows, I'm barricading the door, I'm in the peephole, I'm, you know, climbing out the 2nd-story window, hiding in the woods. Like, I'm that guy, right?
Yeah.
This time, I'm actually seeing stuff. I'm seeing, you know, what I think to be demons in my room. And so I end up not getting through the whole batch. I'm flushing down the toilet. Next morning, birds are chirping. I'm reading the Gideon's Bible, doing my morning devotion like I usually do. And I walk out of the hotel room to figure out what I'm going to do. You know, I walk out of the hotel room. I look over, and the cleaning lady is the same lady that gave me the bicycle at the gas station in the hotel on the other side of Sanford. And she says, "Good morning." And I'm like, what in the actual fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
and so I don't know what any of that means. But yeah, and since that day, it's been getting high has never been the same. Doesn't mean that it's enough to keep me from doing it, because I continue to, you know, to get high with a knowledge and an understanding of God. And I don't understand, you know, how that works. Fast forward a couple more programs, a lot more suffering and, you know, wreckage. 2012. I'm homeless at this point. My dad and brother have left to go to treatment, and I didn't go. We were running together doing tree work, and so I'm outdoors, you know, and I got a little spot in the woods, and I'm going out, and I'm doing tree work every day. I wasn't a sign guy. I didn't like holding a sign or nothing like that. I did tree work, and I did receipt scams. That's how I made money. So I had a bicycle, and I'd ride around with my chainsaw on one handlebar, and then I'd have my rope on the other, and I have my gear in like a little backpack, and I, you know, cut people's trees. And sometimes I would finish the job, sometimes I wouldn't. I end up, you know, one morning my dad, who's clean now, asked me to help him with a job, and they tricked me. That I get to the job, they tricked me, and they did a marksman act.
Ooh,
job, yeah.
Been there.
And, so I'm up in the tree, and then the cop pulls up, and I'm like, what's going on here, you know? But I was so tired, I didn't want to try to like run away from this guy or anything. I'm like, whatever. So I go in the car, and I just feel like this, feel like a warm presence over me, like I hadn't felt in a long time. And I get to this detox place, and there's a tall, first guy I see, tall African-American man. He wouldn't mind if I said his name. His name Chester. This guy Chester. He was the lead tech over at Paramore and Gore. And you know, he walks in, and during the routine strip search, he starts saying all these things to me. He's like, you know, God's got a plan and a purpose for your life. He's like, you know, if you'll just follow his lead, if you'll just stay in position, you know, everything more is going to be revealed. And I'm like, who is this guy? You know, and he's telling me, he's like, one day you're going to be coming back to this place, bringing a message. And I'm like, dude, can I put my clothes back on? Like, I'm sick. I want to get to the med counter so I can get right and take a nap, you know? and that guy's actually been a part of my life ever since.
Wow.
He helped my whole family get clean. So anyways, from there I go to Spirit of Life Recovery Center, where my dad and my brother are. And first day I walk into the little group meeting, and there's a man there. He's 85 years old. A man by the name of Jack. Jack, can I mention names?
Yeah.
That are okay. So Jack was sponsored. He was sponsored by a guy named Clarence.
Clarence. Yeah. Okay.
Clarence was sponsored by a guy named Bob,
mm-hmm.
who was a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're fine. You're fine.
So this guy was second generation from Bob.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting in front of this guy, and he's like, let me tell you something. He's like, if you do these steps, you do 1 through 9, and then you live 10, 11, 12. He's like, you'll never have to drink or drug again. It's like, you won't need it. And he's like, I guarantee it. And I'm like, really? And so he proceeded to take me through the steps in one day. He took me through the steps. I lived that way for almost 7 years. About 7 years, I stopped doing 10, 11, 12 every day. That's when I started to fall off. And I picked up a drink at 9.5 years.
Wow. So I have questions.
Okay.
I'm very curious. So he takes you through the steps. He discharges. You get out. You at a facility, I assume.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was there for about 7 months. Yeah.
Okay. What did you do when you got out of that facility?
Went to a sober house.
Okay.
So,
and what did your 12-step recovery look like?
Going to meetings. We brought meetings into that detox.
Mm-hmm.
Every Wednesday. We brought meetings back to the Spirit of Life, and I would sponsor guys from the Spirit of Life. And that was my life. Lived in a sober house for about maybe a year and a half. And the next big chapter came along. This is me and my dad and my brother all living in the sober house together. So we're like this,
Right.
And we're like, people are asking us to come speak and tell our stories collectively as the family that recovered together. And then eventually, like, people are flying us out to Utah and freaking Colorado, all over the place to like give our story. But and we would go to meetings almost every night. Almost every night, we'd work all day, go to meetings, and then grab some people from the meeting, go to Steak and Shake or somewhere, and we'd be out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like nothing going on but recovery.
Shit's the best, man.
It was amazing. Yeah. It was such a way to live. And I got to a point where, like, after work, I was craving going to a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But all through this time, and I didn't really realize it, that I had my obsession was, I don't remember ever dealing with my obsession during that period. Fast forward about 2 years sober, I'm sitting at a barbecue at the sober house. It's all men, and all of a sudden this one guy walks in, and he's got this like smoking hot redhead chick with him. And I'm like, oh man, who's that? Like, you know where you're at? This is Pine Hills, And so she walks in and sits down next to me, and I'm like, hey, what's up? We're talking, and I'm like, hey, I live here at the sober house. But so we start talking, and she's got she had like 7 years at the time, and she's an NA. Oh, I'm sorry, she's in she's in a different program.
It's fine. It's fine.
So she's a big deal in her program, and I think I'm a big deal in my program.
Yeah.
And so we're talking, and and I'm like, man, something about her. I was mesmerized by this girl, and she was a vegan. When she came to a barbecue, her friend told her it was a pool party, but ended up bringing her to a men's sober house barbecue, and I ended up convincing her to try a pork sandwich, and she loved it.
Yeah.
About a year after that, we're getting married.
Wow.
We're getting married. 4 months later, we're pregnant with our first son, and then we had 4 kids, like back to back to back.
And how long were you sober at this point when you had your first son?
When I had my first son, I had been sober for, let's see, 3 years?
Okay.
3.5 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. 3.5 years. Had my first kid. My dad started drinking again after he had about 4 years.
Okay.
And he started drinking again. And we had a business we built together. And I had to make a decision. And I confronted my dad. It was really hard, really, really hard, because me and him were so tight. And he basically, I prayed about it, and I said, listen, I got to go do my own thing. And then the very next day, started my business with nothing. Like all I had my pickup truck, and I had one chainsaw and my last paycheck. And so left all that we had built together, started my business the very next day from scratch, with it trying not to go back to the old customers that we had, and it was scary. My wife was terrified. We had this brand new baby. We're living in this house in Orlando, and and I'm just like completely depending on God now. Like I don't know what's going to happen, but I know, and I'm for 2 days straight, I'm knocking on doors from sun up to sundown. I could not sell a floaty to a drowning man. And I'm like, what in the hell? What is going on here? And then all of a sudden I start getting people that I haven't talked to in years hitting me up on Facebook Messenger. Hey, do you still cut trees? And I'm getting all these jobs through the back door, despite all my efforts over here. And it was just such evidence of like God providing that it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it, because everything we needed, it didn't make any sense how it was working. I mean, people didn't reach out to me from middle school about trees, and so it all came together, and our business became very successful very quickly. Then we had our second, third, fourth, and yeah, it's been a beautiful ride going through all that, and getting to meet my kids and see them kind of grow up and become their own individual person. And I was so grateful at the time that they could grow up with a sober dad, but I believe that something in me needed to be broken and rebuilt. Something in me needed to be dealt with. And, my dad, I think I had about seven years, and me and my dad weren't really talking. He took it pretty rough that I left the company. We weren't talking too much. And the last conversation we had wasn't great, but we're having a company Christmas party, and I get a call from he had married a lady from Korea, really nice lady. And she calls me and she says, Shelby, your dad, he fell down. I don't know what's wrong. And so they rushed him to the hospital. He had a stroke, but it was a bad stroke. Like he was like vegetable state. And we're all there. The family's there. And I open up I used to carry my Bible around with me all over the place. I open it up, and it's the part where there's the thief next to Jesus. And he says, today you'll be with me in paradise. And I threw my Bible across the room. I said, I don't want to see that. And so we prayed I was angry. I was very angry. We prayed. I stayed there every night. I would come and sit with him, pray with him, and try to talk to him. Like he'd squeeze my hand sometimes, The doctors would have to run me off because I wouldn't stop praying for him. And I was hoping that he was going to make a comeback. And then about 2 weeks later, he had another stroke on the other side. And they said, look, there's nothing. There's no brain activity anymore. And the aunt and my sister, because I couldn't make the decision, they had decided to pull the plug on him. And me and my brother, Forrest, we took a break in the middle of our tree job to come over there, and we held his hand when they pulled the plug, and then we never talked about it since. We went back to work. We went and finished the job right after that. And
wow,
you know, I went into a really dark season. I was listening to like the freaking Nirvana and Mudvayne and all that shit again, and just like going dark, you know, just going dark. Not talking to nobody, not praying as much. I'm angry at God, but I won't admit it. I won't say it out loud. My wife's like, where's my husband? You know, and I blamed her because I wanted her to act a certain way while my dad was dying and show up for me, but I wasn't giving her anything to work with. I was just completely shut down and buried myself in work. And I think that's really when, you know, if I would have been honest about what I was going through with somebody in recovery and opened myself up to that, I think that's where it really started. Was you know, it talks about enlarging our spiritual life. If we fail to enlarge our spiritual life, we won't be able to deal with the certain low spots.
Right.
That was a low spot that I didn't deal with the right way. And so that turned into a lot of friction in my marriage, to the point where we're roommates. We're brothers, you know.
Yeah.
We don't connect. We don't really care to spend time together. We're just going through the motions. We have kids together. And, you know, it was really, I did a lot of damage to our relationship. We almost got a divorce a couple times. There was some really rough years there leading up to that first drink of kratom.
What was it? So it was at about 9 years. You were about 2 and some change detached from the program. Yeah. Do you remember leading up to, and obviously, you know, it's never, the catalyst to a relapse is never like what happens, right, you know, 10 minutes before the relapse, right? It's always months prior, or at least that's been my experience. But what do you recall from leading right up to it?
Anger. I was just angry all the time. I was just angry all the time. I felt all alone. I felt like I had to do everything myself, and nobody was coming to save me. And I would pray still. Like I never stopped praying, never stopped, you know, doing my morning routine, but it felt robotic. It felt, you know, like I just do this because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And there was just always problems. Everything was a problem, piling and piling and piling and piling. Everybody else is an idiot, and they just cause problems for me, you know, and I'm the guy that has to come and fix it all, you know?
Right.
And I had set my life up in such a way to where nobody could call me on that, you know, because I wasn't talking to my buddies in recovery. I wasn't talking to my buddies in church or the pastor or the people that would say, hey, do you realize how insane that sounds? You know? And and life to me at that point was just drudging. I'm just drudging through life. You know, it's not about me. It's about, I'm basically a human sacrifice so my wife and kids can buy whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
And a punching bag. But there's, you know, it's that victim mentality was pretty heavy in me. I was angry at God. And my wife had a lot of, you know, this is a big part of it. She had a lot of health stuff going on. You know, having 4 kids back to back was really rough on her body, on her emotionally. And she ended up the third pregnancy, she almost died in labor.
Oh, wow.
And we almost lost our daughter, Abigail. My third Abigail, I named her after Abigail in the Bible, which means my father's joy. And she is. So she developed like some autoimmune stuff that really restricted her from being able to like get up in the morning, show up for the kids the way she wanted to. And show up for me in ways that she wanted to, and be able to do anything relating to a normal life. And that also was a big part of, because I was such a, get the ball, pull up your bootstraps, and, tuck your nuts up and be a man. Like,
right.
That was my whole, I was like freaking just, crash into it. And, and that's how I always did things. And so I couldn't understand or hold space for her. And I think that was really hurtful and isolating for my wife during that time. But, we did the whole doctors, Eastern doctors, all these different doctors trying to figure out what to do. And eventually we landed on, she went to these kava bar and tried drinking kratom, and it gave her some relief. And so kratom is now, in and around the house. And it's not her fault, because one day, I'm sitting there, I'm stressed. I'm always stressed out. At this point, I'm like, if heart attack is a 10, I'm at like an 8.5, all the time. Sober, completely sober. And fucking, I'm just like wound up. And so I said, you know what? Fuck it. And I drink a kratom. And that night I slept like a baby. I felt so good. And it made me feel like, as soon as I started feeling it kick in, I was like, oh man, this is a bad idea.
Here we go.
This is a bad idea. And then it's like, well, I'm just going to do it every other day.
Yeah.
So I don't get hooked. And then, next thing you know, first thing in the morning, I'm chugging the stuff and trying to get, and I'm hiding it, in my little cup thing, and trying to keep people from finding out. And I got away with that for about a year, until, we were in a pretty bad spot where she was done. She wanted a divorce. She wanted nothing to do with what we had going on anymore. And one night by this point I'm on the testosterone, because I'm trying to level up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm on testosterone to give me the needles, and then I'm seeing a psychiatrist, and they give me the Adderall. They're like, oh, you definitely got ADHD. And I'm justifying every step of the way. I'm justifying
absolutely
all of it. It's like, Adderall,
I get it.
And then it's like, oh, Adderall, needles. Hey, so I'm shooting Adderall. And then I'm like, what's better than Adderall is cocaine. And so next thing you know, I'm looking for coke. I'm finding it, and I'm shooting cocaine, fentanyl, and then eventually cocaine, fentanyl, meth, Xanax, whatever I can get. I'm doing it all the time. I'm, up for 3 or 4 days at a time, and nobody knows. I'm still doing my estimates. I'm still doing, my things and showing up at home, but I'm like gray.
When you say nobody knows, do you mean nobody you were doing estimates for knows, or your family?
They probably knew something was going on, because I look like death. This went on for about 2 months straight. And now, at this time, I'm at the financial pinnacle of my life. Financially, everything looks great. I've got the IRA. I've got all these savings accounts over here. I've got 4 real estate investment properties. I've got the 3 tree crews working every day, making me money. And the Amex, I got the platinum, with the big, thick one that looks like, And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm doing great. It's a big, I have not done drugs since I was the guy making $120 a day. Now I've got all these resources. I've got all this money. And so it's a totally different thing than what I'm used to. And so one day I'm walking around trying to put this bed together. My wife and I are technically separated, but living in the same house. And I've got my sunglasses on because I'm just sweating profusely. And I've got long sleeves to cover up my track marks. I carry women's makeup around to paint my track marks with, so nobody will see them. And my wife's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? She walks up and she's like, take your glasses off. And I'm like, what? And I can't figure out. I'm so whacked out. I can't figure out how to put this freaking thing together for this bed, because I'm just like, and I'm like,
torture.
Oh. Yeah. So I ended up, that was my first time going in, and it was it was horrible. That was before I walked into a meeting.
When was this? What year?
This was 23. No, 24.
Okay. I remember meeting you. I think it was probably in 24.
Yeah.
I remember you said, "Oh, I got 4 kids." I'm like, "Hey, we're kindred, bro."
Exactly. Yeah. So 24, and then I had 2 sober houses I was operating. And so I'm operating sober houses. I'm going to, and the house manager is like noticing that I'm being weird, I'm going and collecting all this money, and and so there was a guy that was in my sober house a couple years before that I used to sit and talk to all the time. Me and him were like best buds, and he found out that I was fucked off, and so he basically came after me. This guy came after me, and you know who he is. And man, he didn't give up on me. He would pick me up every night because he had been doing good. The last time I had seen him, last time I had talked to this guy was on the back porch, and I was like, I would talk to this guy for 10 minutes, and I'd be like, man, I want to blow my brains out after talking. I'd be like, this guy's depressed. I thought I knew what depressed was. This guy's depressed. And I try to cheer him up. But this time, he's coming after me. And he's like, hey, we're going to a meeting. And I'm like, I'm high right now. He's like, I don't care. We're going to a meeting.
Yeah.
And he would take me to a meeting every night. And that guy, if it wasn't for that guy, I don't think I would have ever even cracked the seal enough to even hear what recovery had to offer somebody like me. Because this whole time I am terrified of walking back into a meeting. Mm-hmm. Do you guys know who I am? I'm a guy that I was a circuit speaker, I'm a guy that took people through the steps. I basically wrote this book, or whatever crazy shit I have in my head. Like, I'm a big deal, and now I got to come back here with my tail between my legs and have everybody say, look, see, and that's not at all what happened. Like, I was thinking I was going to get ridicule, dressed down, like, all right, we're taking these badges and we're giving you a wooden pistol from now on. You know what I mean? And so I walk in there, and all I got, man, was love and compassion and grace, and people just checking on me. You'll get the occasional smart ass comment from people, but you got to take that for what it is. And I just received so much love from men in recovery that it makes me, and you've seen me come in. You've seen how many white chips I've had to pick up. When I fall down, I know exactly where to go back to. And what that means, I don't know if I'm here as an example to the guys that like, hey, this is what can happen, but I don't want that to be the truth. Like, I want to be able to I've got 15 days right now, and just the amount of love and the amount of connection that I've found in recovery, the friendships, it's like nothing that I've never had before. I had my septic tank backed up in the house, and there was shit water all over this office right here.
That's the worst.
Was flooded with shit water 3 months ago. I called my sponsor, and he's like, yeah, I'll be there in 15 minutes. My sponsor came over and helped me vacuum up shit water for 3 hours. And I was like, man, can I please pay you or buy you lunch or something? He said, absolutely not. And I just couldn't get over that kind of thing, man. Even the guy that was taking me to meetings, I was like, dude, can I buy you some gas? I was like, why are you doing this for me? And he's like, somebody did it for me, and
yeah.
To be able to live like that and not want anything in return, and to be able to rely and know that God's going to take care of me as long as I, what does it say? Perform his work well, right? Like, show up for the next guy, help his kids, the ones that nobody else wants to help. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people told me, they're like, oh, I had to lose everything to get this. I had to, and I haven't lost everything, but the everything that I was afraid of losing, I'm not afraid of losing. anymore. Like, it's not everything to me, you know. If you know, if I'm going to get sober, and stay sober, it's not going to be because of fear of losing anything. It's not going to be because of fear of losing a marriage or fear of being a deadbeat dad. It's going to be because I found the power. The power is now working in me. And because I'm being honest, you know, and that's been a big struggle for me because I have a lot of shame coming back into this program. And I worry that, like, you know, I'm putting a bad, you know, I worry that, and I know it's not the truth, but the lie is that, oh, God needs me to act right in order for him to be God. And that's not the truth. Like, God doesn't need me to stay sober and do a good job and make a good example for him to be who he is. He's going to be who he is, regardless. Like, if I want God to operate through my life and be effective in my life and live a life beyond my wildest dreams, then yeah, I want God to use me. But the way I live or fall or get back up or fall down or get back up has nothing to do with the display of who God is. Like, he is who he is regardless. And that's something that, you know, I know. And so it's painful to keep falling down and getting back up and falling down. And I just feel like a spectacle, you know, like a clown, like the guy in the dunking booth, you know, but I'm the one throwing the ball. And yeah.
Man, your story, there was probably a half dozen times in your story that I was like, that is, you just told my story. You know, it was identical. And I remember, you know, being in treatment, oh God, I guess it was 2.5 years ago or so. And it was the first time I had gone to treatment and I hadn't lost everything, you know, and I know you've had that experience recently. Yep. And it was the first time I had gone into treatment and realized that the thing that scared me the most, or the thing that I didn't realize, is I already had everything I actually wanted in life. It was already available to me. All I had to do was just show up for it, you know? And that's the feeling I get from you as well, man. And I have a question, and I don't know if this question is going to work or if it's going to land or how it's going to go. But if you weren't you, if you were, I don't know, somebody else talking to you, right? What would you say to Shelby?
I would, if I was me talking to me as somebody else, I would say, you know, hey, I love you, man. I'm proud of you. I would point out all the times that I have gotten back up, and I would say that is proof that you're not too far gone right there, and not to give up on yourself. And I would say I love you, and I would say that, you know, I would treat myself like somebody that I loved and cared about, and I wouldn't give up on them.
Yeah.
And that's been the real struggle for me.
I'll tell you, one thing that I latched onto from your story, and of course it was something I had to kind of infer from it, but I'll tell you how it showed up in my life, and maybe you can tell me if this was similar for you. Is I operated with most of my life with this big, I'm not good enough wound, like in the bottom of my gut. And where that came from, it was never said to me, but I was really good at baseball as a kid. And I, you know, when I would hit home runs, I would notice that I would get that love and affection from my dad that I couldn't really seem to get otherwise. And so the conclusion that I came to was, if I achieve, then I'm worthy of these things. But if I don't, I'm not. And that stayed with me for a long, long time. And even through my long period of sobriety, I achieved a lot. I had a very successful company, all sorts of different things, but that wound was still there. And I noticed that when it didn't heal that thing that I thought it was going to heal, I blew it up, and I would consistently just blow it up every time.
Yeah.
You know, and if I could say anything to you, Shelby, it would be that you are completely worth it. And and you're definitely good enough, man. And we love you so much, buddy.
I love you too, man. I appreciate that.
I'm
Thank you.
really, really grateful that you came on and chatted with us today, pal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Glad we could do it, and I'm glad I could be a part of it. And anything I can do, I'm here.
Thank you, my friend. Stick around after we finish up. For anyone listening, thanks for tuning in. My name's Austin. I've been on with Shelby M today, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Later.